This one's really quick, and I think everybody here is familiar with Mystery Science Theater, right? Mm-hmm. Just want to make sure. And so this is sort of for the people who are Mystery Science Theater fans. It's pretty quick. You might recognize the title of this chapter. It's called Pain Don't Hurt. Bad movies cannot be good. All right, now you pants-wetting little Nancy boys, you Barbie-loving party-dress femi girls, time to get tough, you infants. Forget bungee jumping, that's for brokers on retreat. Forget your lights-out steel cage matches, that's nothing but men rubbing each other. Put that triathlon bikini in the Goodwill bin. It's time to test your will, your resolve, your pain threshold. We're going to see Corky Romano. I've known NFL linemen to turn pale at the mention. Women's kickboxing champions run and hide. Sheep castrators whimper and cry. Corporate consultants fill their pants. Me, I'm just getting into the groove. I saw the trailers for Corky Romano this summer and was convinced that it could be the most terrible movie of the year. Then the reviews came out and critics unanimously disliked the movie with an intensity once reserved for Nazi rallies. And they implied a nascent desire to slap Chris Kattan hard enough to leave finger marks. I had to see this film. Now, I've seen a whole lot of bad movies in my day, let me tell you. They come streaming into the offices of Mystery Science Theater in their bright, colorful packages like evil Christmas presents. Over 10 years, collectively, we've looked at more than 3,000 of them. I'm a professional. I know how to do this. Time to gear up. I call my friend Mike Nelson. For 10 years, he sat and watched these horrid movies with me. He rarely flinched. He always kept us cool. Only once early on did we resort to drinking tequila to get us through a day of writing jokes, while watching the Mexican film Robot versus the Aztec Mummy. Our conversation goes thusly. Mike? Kevin? Mike, my friend, Corky Romano. Ah, yes, Corky Romano. Well, it's that easy with Mike. Granted, not everybody can call up Michael J. Nelson, who is perhaps the funniest person alive, and head out to a crappy film with him, so I count myself extremely lucky. Now, this isn't a guilty pleasure. I don't celebrate bad film. I think the Golden Raspberries are a waste of time. I don't have a so bad they're good category. I don't go to conventions and wear tight t-shirts and trade copies of the pirate movie. Movies that are bad are just that. They exhibit an obvious lack of quality sufficient to cause aversion in the general public. There is nothing good about them. It's all in the watching. Mike and I meet at the theater, the crummy little 8-screener in Edina. I've been going here a lot this week, sort of trashing around, not unlike choosing to go to loud, smoky bars and with tap beer and tombstone pizzas. I pay. It's my book. And I brought the beer. This is a theme, isn't it? 2 generous cans of Foster's Special Bitter, perfect for a movie because they're 22 ounces. They don't clink like glass bottles and they fit neatly in the cup holders. The theater is jammed with high school kids. The annual Minnesota Education Association meeting takes place smack in the middle of October, giving kids and teachers alike an excuse to goof off. Even during the movie, the conversation is loud and rapid. Cell phones are answered and yelled into. Pagers sing their dumb little tunes. It's a continual din, like the wheat pit at the Board of Trade, except everybody's saying, dude, and wondering where the party is. They think they're all here to see a comedy, all except Mike and I and our Fosters. There is nothing more pathetic than a bad joke, people. If you've ever been to a comedy club on open mic night, you'll know what I mean. And as the movie unfolds and the initial willful laughs fade, the room becomes silent, then restless, then downright annoyed. The movie is a pathetic mess, a train wreck. Nothing happens that is funny, at least not by intention. Attempts to add dimension to the characters and pathos to the plot simply hurt. The whole movie hurts. We're sitting on coarse grit sandpaper. Mike groans and squirms in his chair. I begin to sweat and pant loudly. Bear down, it can't be more than 80 minutes, can it? It's 85. Chris Kattan is no funnier than a televised colostomy. Ever since America mistakenly enjoyed Jerry Lewis, periodically some suited clod in an office in Century City gets it in his head that we need to see another convulsive monkey do shtick. This is how we got Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Rob Schneider, Adam Sandler, and Carrot Top. It's true. And now we have Chris Kattan, who in Corky isn't even funny enough for 12-year-old boys. Now, if you can't be funny enough for 12-year-old boys, you should switch careers. And this is why they tried to wedge some warmth and heart into the film to appeal to the girls, the poor girls. So the real joy is to watch the whole thing go to smash, to see the film wither and die in the hopes that careers will get pulled down in the suction, which unfortunately they never do. This film stole $20 million of our money and then ran to the video store. Debut director Rob Pritz came from the advertising world, where all great directors begin their careers, right? Now then, Chris Penn plays Corky's mobster brother as a rock-stupid, latent homosexual. What the hell happened to him? A few years ago, he was digging out from under the leaden weight of the Penn name. He did Reservoir Dogs, Shortcuts, The Funeral, good roles, well acted. But now here he is making a mess of a bad role. Worse, he's gained at least 800 pounds, all of it in his head. He's become this Macy's balloon animal version of himself, straining the skin of his face to the point where it might burst, sending subcutaneous fat spraying over unwitting press people at a premiere party. I'm sorry, that's really gross. And please say some prayers for Peter Falk. Peter plays Corky's dad, a vile, bigoted, yet loving mobster, who's on his deathbed. Now here's a guy with a bookshelf full of awards, who's worked with Wim Wenders, David Mamet, John Cassavetes, Walter Hill, once the highest paid actor in TV history, a legend whose multifaceted career spans over half a century. Now at 74, he does Corky Romano. Do you know the risk he's running? He could croak tomorrow and his obituary would have to mention that his last film was Corky Romano. Would you want that in your obituary? It'd be worse than dying of syphilis. Think of poor Peter Sellers, whose last film was the fiendish plot of Dr. Fu Manchu, and he never got a chance to live it down. The lesson of this is to be careful in your old age, and if you are over 60, under no circumstances do a movie starring Chris Kattan. In the theater, the teen audience is getting edgy. 45 minutes in, 2 kids leave, then 3 more, then about 6 at once. Right at Chris Kattan's supposed trademark line, as he stands at a doorway in a Girl Scouts uniform croaking, "You guys want some cookies?" There's a rush for the door. A full third of the audience will abandon the thing before the ending out of sheer agony. They will not sit still for the sublime pain. I like it. I like watching the reaction of a crowd to something that is truly bad. The American teenage audience has spectacularly low expectations for movies, as they have since the invention of the teen movie. This year, I've seen people walk out smiling from the likes of Joe Dirt, The Animal, and Saving Silverman, having enjoyed a scant few laughs and the occasional attractive boy or girl. Corky is different, and the crowd knows it. I watch the kids look at each other as if there's something wrong with the projector instead of the movie. It isn't meeting their basement-level expectations of what is minimally funny or entertaining. And it gets worse as the movie gallops out of control towards its inevitable end. It has to end. Even Berlin Alexanderplatz had an ending. And the jokes seem to become more repetitive and more desperately odd. This is when people stream from the theater, made uneasy by the furtive and spastic nature of the third act, as if the film has become unstable and might come out into the audience, grab someone and hold them hostage with a kitchen knife. I'm cringing, rocking back and forth in my chair as if I'm on a charter plane on the way back from Mexico with 2 broken toilets. This did happen to me. Mike, who normally sits as stoic and serene as the Gautama under the Bodhi tree, is starting to sweat. Good God, how long is this thing? The movie wants to end and keeps on going. The theater has become so empty that the ushers may as well sweep up. I think of the 1974 Chicago Bears, the 311 Bears, the Agony Bears, the pre-Peyton Bears, the team coached by Abe Gibran, 11, 30, and 1. And quarterbacked by Bobby Douglas, a man who threw a football harder than a relief pitcher and once put an easy slant pass squarely in the numbers of a referee. The team that caused me to stop caring about football for the rest of my life. I think of these Bears at frigid Soldier Field, closing out their 5th consecutive losing season by losing 21-zip to the Green Bay Packers. It's the 4th quarter. The wind whips the top tier of the bleachers like a North Sea gale. 2 minutes left. Douglas loses the ball and Green Bay picks it up, sealing the doom. The crowd has dwindled to those scant few weeping idiots who believe the team is winning or losing because of them. Nobody cares. This is what the last 10 minutes of Corky Romano were like. The theater becomes Soldier Field in the 4th quarter. Chris Kattan throws jokes harder than Bobby Douglas. No amount of beer could make the experience better, but we stay until the credits. We are the last ones out of the theater. This is why I came, to witness failure as it happens, to learn and to enjoy. I enjoy it because the humor of it transcends the film itself. The makers of the film and the actors stuck in it become players in a bizarre comedy beyond their reckoning. They become the classic object of ridicule that they intended to target. Aristotle in the Poetics wrote a comedy with universal relevance. But in my inherent reading of Aristotle is the thought that all forms of drama, comedy included, satisfy us because of an essential foundation in craft. Like Shakespeare said, they hold the mirror up to nature. They reflect our actions and their consequences back on us in ways we can understand, and we are all better for the experience. Well, so now Corky Romano was entirely unsatisfying because the filmmakers don't know the first damn thing about comedy as set out by the unardly head-bound Greek more than 2,000 years ago. Corky is simply a series of adolescent jokes none of which is good, with nothing to hold them together. Without consciously realizing it, our teenage Corky audience knew this, and it sent them screaming from the theater. So there, you can gain something from reading classical texts and going to see a really bad movie. But it takes guts and determination, and a big can of Foster's Special Bitter certainly helps.